Governments around the world are urging restraint after days of violence in the Middle East, warning that any further escalation could spiral out of control. A fragile calm is in effect for now, but Israel has ordered the mobilization of some reservists after it launched airstrikes into southern Lebanon and Gaza. It says it went after Palestinian militant targets after rockets fired into Israel. After those cross-border attacks, Israelis travelling in a car in the West Bank came under fire today. 2 sisters were killed and their mother was wounded. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the scene with his defence minister, condemning what he called the heinous shooting.
I can only say one thing. Our enemies are putting us to the test again. And once again, they will discover, even in this test, that we stand together, united, confident in our righteousness, and we will act together with the complete backing of our forces, the IDF and the security forces, who also work on the holidays to ensure the security of our citizens and the security of our homelands. And together, united, we will win.
Well, all of this happening after scenes inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem outraged the Arab and Muslim world and beyond. Al-Sama Abdelaziz tells us how 2 Israeli raids on one of Islam's holiest sites led to what many are calling a very dangerous moment for the region.
A day that began with rockets from Gaza that struck a home in Sderot. No one was killed in the attack, the latest in a wave of missiles fired from Gaza and southern Lebanon in recent days. Violence also spread to the West Bank on Friday. There, 2 Israeli sisters were killed and their mother seriously wounded in a shooting, described by Israeli forces as a terrorist attack. Hamas praised the deadly attack as a heroic act of resistance. In recent days, a major escalation across the region has raised fears of a wider conflict. This is the latest catalyst. Israeli police twice stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque Wednesday. Overnight footage showed the dramatic raid. Israeli forces hitting worshippers with rifle butts and batons. Israeli police say they entered the mosque after hundreds of rioters barricaded themselves inside, and that their officers were attacked with stones and fireworks. Palestinians and the wider Muslim world see the raid on the mosque as a provocation, particularly during the holy month of Ramadan. Condemnation quickly poured in, as well as rockets from 2 directions, southern Lebanon and Gaza.
It all begins and ends at the holy site you see behind me here. Known as the noble sanctuary to Muslims or the Temple Mount to Jews, it is dictated by a decades-old agreement that says only Muslims can pray at the site. Some non-Muslims are allowed at certain times at the complex, but any violation, real or perceived, of that so-called status quo agreement could quickly ignite tensions.
And many Palestinians fear that's exactly what's happening. There have been calls by Jewish extremist groups to slaughter goats at the mosque compound during Passover. And in January, an inflammatory visit by Israel's far-right national security minister, Ben-Gvir, drew international condemnation. He is convicted of supporting terrorism and inciting anti-Arab racism. Prime Minister Netanyahu has insisted his government is not seeking to change rules at the holy site. On Friday, tens of thousands gathered at the steps of Al-Aqsa Mosque after a peaceful prayer service. Banners read, "Al-Aqsa is a red line." Another said, "Do not test our patience." The U.S., UN, and other members of the international community have called for restraint and calm. But with nearly 2 weeks of Ramadan left and the Passover holiday underway, it remains a deeply sensitive time in a deeply sensitive place. Salma Abdelaziz, CNN, Jerusalem.
Well, Israel says its strikes in Gaza targeted Hamas weapons manufacturing sites and tunnels. But the Palestinian Health Ministry says a children's hospital was also damaged. And a Palestinian taxi driver says his family was nearly killed when missiles hit just outside their home in Gaza. He says he ran to his young sister's rooms where they were sleeping after powerful explosions blasted the walls and the windows.
I came in running amidst the sound of explosions. I could hardly see because of the dust. The dirt covered my sisters, and I carried them out one by one. What is their fault? One of them almost died after a window fell on her and she started screaming.
Well, an Israeli military spokesperson acknowledges that this week's surge in violence was triggered by Israeli raids on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But he tells CNN's Frederick Clacton the priority is now de-escalation.
There's been a convergence of frontiers right now for Israel, of regions. An event that started off in Jerusalem, got expanded to Gaza, Hamas, and into Lebanon. So basically, due to the events that happened, and again, we're in very volatile times. 2 nights ago, an event on Temple Mount kicked off a response from Gaza, who is trying to escalate with a lot of social networks this region, and they started firing rockets. After that, some Palestinian factions in Lebanon, predominantly Hamas, also started firing at Israel. So we had like a multi-arena with one main adversary, the Palestinian capabilities.
You are saying it's a very volatile time. Obviously, we saw that last night. What we're hearing today is that Israel is calling up some reservists, specifically in air defense and also in the Air Force. Can you tell us how many and why you're making that move now?
So I won't go into the numbers, but I will tell you that we are ready for any developments. You can understand from the language of how this event is unfolding that we want to de-escalate. I mean, there's a very, very sensitive weekend ahead with Passover, Ramadan and Easter all aligning, and we're hoping for a quiet weekend. Although we had another attack right after the prayers in Jerusalem in the Jordan Valley, but we're looking to de-escalate.
Do you feel that on all sides? Do you think there is a chance for de-escalation right now, or do you see this, as you say, it's very volatile? Do you see that there is the potential for this to blow up into something bigger, especially right now when you're dealing with 2 fronts? You're in South Lebanon and here in Gaza as well.
So again, there was a language here that we spoke. We were very focused on the things that were threatening us specifically, also the rockets from the north and also the rockets from Gaza. And again, we are now trying to keep the worship and keep this weekend open because it's a sacred time. All the crossings from Judea and Samaria are open, also from Gaza there's people coming in. And if it's quiet, it will be answered with quiet.
Well, Frederick Clacton joins us now from the Israeli-Gaza border. Good to have you with us, Fred. It was an interesting interview you just did. We did also hear earlier today from the Lebanese foreign minister who spoke with our Becky Anderson, who said they are working to de-escalate the situation as well. The question is, will it be successful? Because what is your sense of the situation, especially given that the Israelis are calling on some reservists and several councils have opened up these bomb shelters? What can we expect in the coming days?
Yeah, hi, Linda. I think the sense that we're getting here on the ground is that all sides really don't want this to escalate any further than it already has. If you look at the Israelis, for instance, they, just a couple of minutes ago, a source in the defense sector there telling CNN that as of right now, the operations in South Lebanon, but also over Gaza, are over if there is no new rocket fire. Now, of course, we know from some of the events that we've seen over the past 24 hours that that is a very big if. And certainly you can see and feel as we are on the edge of Gaza right now that the Israelis certainly aren't taking any chances. In fact, as I'm speaking to you right now, and the lights that you see behind me, that is already the territory of Gaza. We are hearing drones overhead the entire time. So clearly the Israelis very much keeping an eye on the situation, looking to see that nothing is fired towards Israel from Gaza territory, and obviously also being on high alert as well with the fact that they've said that they've called up reserves, and especially in air defense and also in the Air Force as well. So clearly this region is very much on edge. Israel obviously on edge. Lebanon very much, of course, on edge as well. But at the same time, you do feel that regional actors, and certainly the countries that have been affected so far, Israel, but then Lebanon as well, they don't want this to spiral into something wider and turn into a wider war here in this region, which obviously would be highly detrimental to a country like Lebanon, but certainly to Israel as well, Linda.
And really that is the major concern right now, Fred, because military experts have said that the barrage from Lebanon into Israel was the heaviest we've seen since 2006 when Israel and Hezbollah were at war. Interestingly, though, this time Israel didn't go directly after Hezbollah, right?
No, they certainly didn't. And I think this was also part of the Israelis really trying to, I wouldn't say necessarily play the safe, but certainly be very careful about who they accuse, and also be very careful to not allow this to spiral into something wider, where all of a sudden you have a wider conflict with the Lebanese, but specifically also, of course, Hezbollah as well. It was quite interesting when we saw some of the statements that were coming from the Israelis, where early on they were actually blaming Hamas, the group that controls Gaza, for firing those rockets from Lebanon. They then very quickly took that back and said that they believe that it was Palestinians firing from inside Lebanese territory, which obviously very much excludes Hezbollah having been behind all this. At the same time, we're also seeing that Hezbollah has been fairly quiet over the past 24 hours as well, also seemingly not wanting to escalate that situation either, because, of course, we know that Hezbollah is an extremely important and extremely strong group there inside Lebanon, certainly one also that's much more battle-hardened than it would have been several years ago, especially after all the experience that their fighters gained fighting in Syria, for instance. Nevertheless, for Hezbollah also, it would have been an extremely tough conflict if they would have gone into a direct war with the Israelis. So it really seems as though all sides are saying, take a step back here, make sure this doesn't escalate to any further. Certainly the Israelis right now saying very publicly, it seems, that for now, right now, their retaliatory action in Gaza and in South Lebanon is over if they're not shot at again, Linda.
Frederick Pleiton for us on the Israeli-Gaza border. Good to have you there for us. Thanks very much.